It's 8:31. I am coming from you live at the baseball park in Little Rock from Jake's baseball tournament. So we're out here working, trying to win a ball game. So those of you who are on that did not go to convention or leaders retreat with us, we are really excited to share. We are recording this so you can share with your teams. But honestly, y'all, like, it was such an awesome experience. You're going to get to hear from all of us a little bit of kind of everybody's experience. But honestly, for me, this was my fifth leaders retreat. And I will tell you, as someone that was very skeptical about Plexus, the events are where your business completely takes off. Okay. Like, I want that to soak in and let that sit in for just a second. So those of you who are kind of dabbling on going to convention, you're going to want to come. I was very skeptical. I actually did not want to go to convention, and Brittany paid for my plane ticket to come because I was like, I'm not going to no pink drink convention. But honestly, that's what changed everything for me, because seeing the bigger perspective, and you're going to get to hear from some of the girls tonight that were skeptical and thought the same thing. That's what changed everything. And so for me, what I took away from this was having a team there, because for the last 5 years, y'all, for 4 years, I didn't have anybody come with me to Leaders Retreat because I wanted to do it my way. And I wanted to run the business the way I wanted to run the business. I did not take it seriously. I treated it like a hobby. I worked when I wanted to. I came out here to baseball games like this and didn't get on calls because it just wasn't important to me. Okay. And this leaders retreat, I had, we have 7 people there, 7 people there. And then Daisha was supposed to be there. Rose was supposed to be there. Jimmy Ann was supposed to be there. And so I had a team there, and it was so cool to have a team there learning and growing about leadership, and then going and taking it away and going back to their teams and telling their teams and seeing them show up on social media as a leader. And so for those of you who want this, who want the 6 figures, who want the Plexus Lexus, who want time freedom, who want financial freedom, you show up and you do those things as a leader, and your team is going to follow. For me, like I said, I was very skeptical. I had no interest in really doing this. But when I started seeing the bigger picture, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to start voice recording Erica and Alyssa Pye and Natalie. I'm going to start voice recording these leaders and telling them how awesome they are and how I see this, and this in them. Or I'm going to challenge them to post on social media, or I'm going to challenge them to share their results with a friend. When you do those things, your team sees that boldness in you. Okay. So for me, as a Sapphire ambassador that has been to Leaders Retreat how many years and never had a team there, it was very eye-opening to know where we're headed and the momentum that we have on our team. And me as a leader in saying, you know what, I'm tired of treating this like a hobby. I'm tired of playing this small, because look at all of these people in this room. Look at all of these people in the hotel, at Disney, all of these people that are literally living in financial freedom, that are living in going on vacation this summer with their family, whatever that looks like for them, because they've taken this seriously. So I want you guys to soak everything in tonight on the call. Listen to these people, these women. They're amazing. They're incredible leaders. They all were brave and came. Daisha, I know that you were supposed to be there. Rose, Annie, y'all were all supposed to be there. Flights and life happens. But these leaders want to pour into you, and you're probably going to cry. There's going to be lots of tears tonight. So just let it soak in, and just tell yourself after this, like, I want to move forward. I don't want to stay stagnant. I want to be a Jewel by the end of the year. I want to be Ruby by the end of the summer. I would love to help 2 or 3 people get to gold. And, you know, just having that bigger vision than, well, I'm just going to see what happens. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I played that game for a lot of years, and I didn't have anybody come to Leaders Retreat. It took me a while to get to that Jewel rank. And when I said, let's do this, I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of being stagnant. That's when I moved forward. So y'all listen to these leaders, soak it all in, take notes. I can't wait to hear what y'all take away from it. All right. Erica, I think it's you, sister.
Y'all don't judge me. I've been sick, so we're going with it. Anyways, Let me make sure I'm off mute. I'm pretty sure I am. Okay. So this was my first leaders retreat. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was not excited about it at all. I was not going. I called Marissa so many times because in the beginning I was like going to take Joel. And I just wasn't excited about it. I was like, something doesn't feel right. I think I'm going to back out. And then I prayed about it and prayed about it and prayed about it. And me and Marissa ended up talking. I know that Samantha went with us. And then I just felt like I needed to take Kim. So fast forward, we get to Leaders Retreat. Everyone knows like Marissa's my best friend and she wasn't going to be there till Sunday. So I was like Samantha and Kim know I was struggling with anxiety so bad. So like I couldn't even focus and just think about like I was actually at Leaders Retreat. But when we got into the meeting on Sunday, I believe. Sunday morning, we got into the meetings and I just wanted to cry the whole time. It just opened my eyes to know that like anybody and everybody can do this. Like if you look on the leaders here on the call or everyone on the call, everyone is so different. Not one person is the same. And I'm like shy. I've definitely come out of my shell, but it just showed me that like everyone can do it. Like this isn't just for one person. So it just made me want to like lit a fire in me because there are some people that I have that's just like looking at the next person. Just I was guilty of that. Like there's no way that I could ever do this ever. And here we are. I'm a Ruby ambassador and never thought I would see this. So it just makes me like want to pour into everybody and just let them know that you can do this. If I can do this, why can't you? I'm trying to think of something else on there. Some of y'all like give me details because I might go blank right now.
I just want you to know, Erica, that I can speak for all of us that went, we're all very proud of you for going. And
I was so close, y'all. So close to not going.
Marissa called me and was like, pray, Britt, Erica doesn't want to go. And I'm like, she is going. If I have to drag her butt on that plane, she is going.
Yes. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, like I did not think that. And there are probably so many people on here that are going to watch or are watching. And in my shoes, like this is just not for me, but I've been there. We all have setbacks, but we just have to like keep moving. So I do definitely encourage everybody to go to convention because this was my first leaders retreat. And more now than ever, I thought like, I'm doing this. Like y'all are going to watch me and I'm doing this. And I want everybody to come with us. So just don't think that you can't do it because you can. And another thing that I learned too, don't stay in your like shell of people that you run to. Like, of course, Marissa's like my go-to, Brittany's my go-to, but like I've branched out and I reached out to a total stranger across the world. And someone spoke there and said to reach out to somebody that you wouldn't normally reach out to because they're going to have ideas that our team probably hasn't even thought of yet. And what works for me may not work for the next person or the person I'm talking to or even my team. So like I encourage like Kim and Rose and all of them, I want them to talk to everybody because just because something's working for me doesn't mean it's going to work for them. So I definitely encourage everybody to branch out and talk to somebody new, get their feedback, do a Zoom with them because I promise you it will help you.
I love that. Good job. I think Alyssa, you're up next.
Yes, ma'am. So I was going to share about a specific speaker we had on the first day. I don't remember what his title was, but he's a big wig guy that kind of helps with training and leadership for Chick-fil-A. And we all know Chick-fil-A service is like top notch. I mean, why do we love it? Because I mean, I've heard so many times, like when things are not going right in any other organization, they're like, just get some Chick-fil-A people in here and everything will be fine. So I was so excited when he said he was from Chick-fil-A. I was like, yes, we need all of the whatever they got going on over there. And I was just amazed at everything he said. He talked for a long time, but the biggest thing I kind of took away was that Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. So they are closed 52 more days, or 52 days out of the year that all the other fast food chains in America are not closed. So all the other chains have 52 more days to make more money than Chick-fil-A does. And I think he said he was comparing it to McDonald's. So McDonald's makes $700,000 in profit in a month, maybe is what he said. And Chick-fil-A makes $2 million to that 700,000. And they are closed 4 days a month where McDonald's is not. And so he just went on to talk about like how you view your perspective and how they teach their employees to not just think of their customers, obviously not to think of them as a sale, but not to just continue to present them with, you could buy this and you can upsize this and you can have this, but to treat them in a way that is service, that we are serving them and giving them a better experience. And one of the biggest things when he was talking that I wrote down was, I don't know if y'all can see it, but right here, big in the middle of my page, I just wrote Sabbath. And he didn't say that. He never said anything about Sunday, going to church, any of that, those details. But I wrote down Sabbath when he said that we are closed on Sundays. And if you look at like Chick-fil-A's history, that Sunday means the same to them or their founders as it does to us, just respecting that Sabbath day. But it just kind of really hit me that like they are closed and they take that time on Sundays to be with their families and to rest. And that's what God calls us to do. He calls us to rest and to give him a day of the week. God rested after making the world and everything in it. He rested on the seventh day. And I just think it's important for us. I mean, we're constantly striving and going and pushing. And I think it's just such a big thing to remember to rest and to keep the Lord first. And I just love that he touched on that in this big leadership meeting. It's like, you don't have to be going full force 7 days a week, all hours of the day. Like you have to take the time to rest and then pick back up and be ready to go again for the next 6 days. Just a minute, please. I'm almost done, okay? But one thing that was really cool is, y'all know Blakely, she's my twin in this business. She was sitting beside me and I wrote Sabbath and I just kind of nudged her and she looked down at it. And then I had convinced her or shared this devotional with her. It's called Courageous Simplicity. And I've been doing it with some friends, and then she started it. Well, then she went to her room, and then that night, the devotional she opened up to, she texted me as soon as she saw it and said the verse that she opened her devotional up to was, understand that the Lord has given you the Sabbath, Exodus 16:29. And so I don't feel like that was anything that we should miss. And so I looked through here just right before we got on, and let me find it one second. Something that was in here that kind of caught my eye was she says, of all the commandments God gave Moses on Mount Sinai, one we often break in today's fast-paced world is keeping the Sabbath. How often have we gone about our weeks without taking a full day's rest? The reasons are easy and many. We're too busy. We don't have the time. We have too much to do. It stings to admit, doesn't it? God didn't give us a command to rest because he wanted us to fall behind in our work. He gave it because he knew that without it, we would run our striving little selves into the ground. Our Creator understands that our bodies need a break, and so do our minds and souls. We need to lie low and simply rest. But in our adrenaline-laced and overloaded world, even that can seem like work. We long for a break from the busyness without realizing that our Creator has blessed us with a rhythm for the simplicity we crave, and it's called Sabbath. And this is a group of leaders, and you're hearing from leaders tonight. And I think more, even like as you progress and as you become more of a leader in this business, like you also have to be a leader with resting. So there was like 4 or 5 messages that I could have got on today and probably like signed up somebody new. But I told my team after church, I said, I'm going to be off my phone for the rest of the day. And I was. And so there's opportunities there that I could have gotten today and been so excited that I got those people today, but they'll be there tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll be rested and ready to go and refreshed. And so you're going to hear a lot probably about like our work and how, to be a leader and to just really pour into that. But I also wanted to throw in that piece about make sure you're resting, make sure you're keeping the Lord first, and that you're giving him that time that he calls you to rest. At least take a day once a week. Your business, I fully believe that your business will flourish and not suffer if you take a day off of social media once a week. It's going to be fine. Going to be fine. Promise.
Okay, I think it is Samantha next. Is she still on here? There she is. All right,
yeah.
Sam, share away.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about there was a speaker that we had on our first day, and he was it cracked me up, y'all, because how many of y'all can relate to this? So he's like, my wife, and talking about her plexus. And then he goes into, and I signed up because she wanted an iPad. And I was like, oh, that is so good. I was like, I know what he's talking about. Anyway, and so, but then he goes in to share how, like, he had actually, like, been in prison for 3 years and how he was just a number and how he, like, dove into plexus and how, like, it was, like, a fresh start for him. Like, it was a step in, like, and he talked about that, how, like, all it takes is those first steps, like those first steps of commitment, and how, like, you can be anything. Like, don't let your past hold you back. And for me, like, I'm like, the whole time I'm like, oh, like, I'm like getting so pumped up about it, because I think a lot of times in life, like, we let our past define us and we let it hold us back, or we let certain things hold us back, when all it takes is just like commitment and like pushing through. And I think it's so important to remember that Plexus community, especially like being at Leaders Retreat, like, everyone is just, it's so crazy to see everyone interacting with their different teams, and just to see, like, there's so much positive and just like love. And so just to see like a genuine, like, people's character is just, to me, was just the best part. But just to see somebody stand up there, like, because I know, like, working in the nursing field, like, I've seen people that like come in that are in jail, that have been there for different reasons, and you want always kind of in the back of your mind, once they make these big, bold mistakes, you're like, well, what's left for them, and just to see that our community is not closed-minded and very open to, like, just loving people, like doing exactly what the Lord calls us to do. Like, that was huge for me, because that's not easy to do. That is not easy to do. And I think that is just so amazing. And here they had him up, like, speaking. I'm like, I was so proud. I felt like his mom. I was so excited. And I just think that's important to remember as you share with other people, and just, just don't worry about, you never know what story is going to touch somebody's life. And so I feel like it's so important. Like, I took his testimony, and there's a girl I went to school with. She went to a different school, but her dad is currently in prison and he was a police officer. And I sent her his testimony and she was just like sobbing. And she was like, thank you so much for sending that to me. You just never know whose lives that's going to touch. So never be, and I just went out on a limb to share with her. So you just never know. And I think it's just so bold to remember to share your testimonies and, don't be scared to do that. Like, talk to whoever, like you never know whose lives it's going to touch. So that was one of my big takeaways from it. And everybody needs to go to convention. And that's all.
Love it, Samantha. Y'all, just so you know, she's our hype girl. Those of you who don't know Samantha, and we were on the front row in both sessions. And when that guy got up and started sharing his testimony, Samantha was like taking us back to church, and she was like, praise Jesus, lifting the arms up. And like, we were rolling. It was so, so good. She kept nudging me. She sat next to me one day. She's nudging me and she's like, oh girl, he's speaking my language. And her notes are the prettiest notes that I've ever seen too. We were all talking about her notes. She's going to share those. We're going to make her share those because they're that good. So good job, Samantha. All right. Who's next? We've got, I think, Natalie.
I've loved all these so far, y'all. It was so good. Just everything was so good. I wish that everybody could have been there that's on this call right now. But I am going to talk a little bit about Krista Deary. And so she was the first speaker. She actually opened it up, and she is a diamond. So those of you that don't know, she has been doing this, I think, like she said, like 7 years, and she has 7 kids. She has a son with special needs. He was born okay. Long story short, he didn't have like one of his, like, I think it was his vitamin K shot when he was born, had a lot of medical problems. And she said that, she was just in this spot of anxiety and postpartum depression and not knowing what to do with her life because she had this son that had special needs and just had like never thought that was going to happen to her, and like was just in this really hard season. Her husband is a pastor. And so I've always just thought her story was incredible because her testimony and her faith with them having that son and all of that is just amazing. But then her Plexus testimony is incredible as well. So when I knew she was going to speak, I already knew it was going to be so good, but I just didn't know it was going to be this good. And like, she spoke so good. She is actually scared of public speaking. She came out and said that afterwards, which was like a huge shock to me because she did so good. But anyways, okay. So her main thing was owning your leadership in every season and every position that you're in. And she told a story about how when she was in the hospital with her son and they were basically going through a lot of, turmoil and like didn't know if he was even going to make it. And if he was, like, they basically said, like, he might be brain dead. Like, there's just not a lot of hope in this situation, basically. And she was just, emotional and upset. And she was in the hospital room by herself. And a janitor walked in, this lady, and she was crying. And the janitor went up to her and just said, you don't need to cry. You do not need to be afraid. And asked if she could pray over her as she cleaned the room. And she just said, yes. And she said that the janitor just was like doing her chores, like emptying the trash, sweeping the floors, doing all of these little tasks that, she needed to do around the room. But under her breath, she was praying the whole time. And she just said it was so powerful for her because she was clearly not letting her position dictate her impact. She was not letting the fact that she was only a janitor in this hospital dictate how she was able to help another human in the position that she was in that day. And so that was just powerful, like owning your leadership in every season and every position that you are in, and not ever letting, I have chills, not ever letting your position define your impact, because God can do more through you than you think.
And if you are willing and you are able and you give your heart and say that you are willing, like he's going to use you in whatever position you are in, wherever you are. And so that was powerful for me. I loved that. Ethan loved that. I was so glad that he was in there for that, because that was like a moment for him too. But she was also just talking about leadership and how to be a good leader and like what to look for in a leader and how to be a good leader at the same time. And so she was just talking about how important humility is and like being grateful for everything that you have in every season, just trying to find things to be grateful for. Servanthood, giving people your time, your attention, your love, being a servant, just like Christ was, being consistent. So like setting the temperature for your team and just like how you are as a leader, how you're showing up, how you're pouring into your people. You're setting the temperature by being consistent for your team. And then also just having that belief, like truly believing that you have the power to make an impact and believing that you can be used, you know, even though you may not feel like you're good enough, or you may not feel like you're in a position to do something and be a leader. That's not true. Like you have to believe first that you are in a position to create impact and that God can use you, and he will. So I loved that. And then she just basically said, like, you can impact generations with this. And I truly believe that, like, and I've believed that before, but like seeing her, hearing her in person, seeing these other testimonies and like being there with everyone in person was like it gave me like an unshakable belief that every single person on this call can be doing this. Like every single person on this call is gifted and talented and has their own gifts and like can use those. And he wants to use your gifts. Right. So it's like, I don't know. It was just so powerful. And then really quick, Lexi, I'm going to touch on Lexi. So Lexi is a friend of mine that Marissa connected me to like probably 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. She lives in Nebraska, and she just thought that we would be like friends because we have kids that are similar in age. And then she was also shooting for Senior Ruby. And so she was just thinking like we would be good together. So we became like social media friends. So I met Lexi in person at Leaders Retreat for the first time, and I loved her like I knew I did, but it was just so good to actually finally hug her neck. Well, the last night of Leaders Retreat, I had found Lexi, and she was upset that she didn't get to see Marissa because Marissa had already gone up to her room. And so I called Marissa and I was like, Lexi wants to see you. And she was like, well, y'all come here really quick. So we like went up to her room. Well, that led into this whole thing that we did not even know was going to be a thing, but it was like definitely planned by God. Lexi just kind of opened up about how they have not been serving, like doing a lot of the things that our team is doing. And she was very curious about like praying over our team and, you know, like what devotionals are y'all doing? And like, just, you know, questions like that you could just tell she was like really curious and really wanted to know more. And so Marissa, being the leader that she is, just like poured into her everything that she had. Like, this is what you can be doing. Like, you have all this impact. You can be praying and voice recording and just, you know, going on and on. And Lexi, you can just tell, is like a sponge, just like soaking it all up. And we sat on that bed before we left Leaders Retreat and had a prayer circle. And Alyssa and Blakely had come up at that point, which was like perfect timing. So it was like, we all got to do it together. And we just all prayed about like our futures and our teams and like our impact and just how we can serve others and all this. And it was so good. And it set a fire under Lexi. So Lexi ended up reaching out to Samantha. She met Samantha for the first time at Leaders Retreat, and asked Samantha for some prayer examples that she could use to help get her familiar with praying out loud and familiar with praying over her team. And that's just like incredible. And then I'm like gonna choke up. And then Lexi and her husband took their babies to church for the first time today, in a really, really long time. So it was like just one of those things that like a seed was planted, and you just never know, like just being there for that moment, that small moment, like could change everything for Lexi, just like that one moment with that janitor changed everything for Krista Deary. And it's like, I just want everyone on this call to know, like, you may not know it at that time, but that seed you're planting could grow into something you may never know the magnitude of what it could be. But when God calls you to plant those seeds, we've got to plant the seeds. So that is my big takeaway. And I love everybody on this call. And I hope you all come to convention.
Good job. Okay, Blakely, you're up.
Okay. This was my first leaders retreat, obviously. And I don't really know what I was expecting, but I definitely did not get what I was expecting, if that makes any sense at all. But that first day we went in there, and I guess I was expecting more of like, here's how you sell pink drink, and here's how you get people on your team who want to work the business, and here's how you're going to lead your team by telling them to do this and do this and do this and do this. And I was like, I need that. Like, I'm new at actually being a leader, so I need to know what to do. You know, where do I go in my back office? What reports do I need to be running? And quickly I realized that was not going to be the case. I can't even remember who it was that said it, but I think it was the Chick-fil-A guy said, your purpose is people. Like, you are not in the business of a pink drink. You are not in the business of developing other leaders or making a lot of money. Your purpose is people. And like Alyssa said, they talk about how everybody that comes to work for Chick-fil-A, they don't look at them as this minimum wage worker who's going to sling chicken sandwiches for them. They want to see how they can help that employee grow at the time they're at Chick-fil-A. So they have all these different like leadership programs they can go to. They have scholarships to college that they can get, instead of looking like, okay, well, I can pay them the minimum wage and they can sell my chicken slingers and they can do this. They look at how they can change that person's life. And then he shared this video that they give to their employees of like all the customers that come in, how you're not looking. That's why they say, they don't ever say like, would you like to upgrade it to a large, or, you know, would you like a shake with that? Because they showed this video of like, all you're seeing is a person coming up ordering a chicken sandwich, but they like had labels over their heads. And like one of the labels was like, just went through a miscarriage yesterday. And then the other one was like, just found out her dad just died. And it was just like, you never know, you know, and that Chick-fil-A like doesn't want to treat them just like another sale. And then when they started talking about leadership, they had a quote that said, truly effective and inspiring leaders aren't even driven to lead people. They're driven to serve them. And that was like jab in the heart, because here I am over here thinking I'm going to get a training on how to lead these people and how to do it. And then they were like, that's not even what you're called to do. You're called to serve them, and they are meant to be your priority, not how many customers they bring in or the money, or pour into them and your customers, or even potential customers, or even someone who may not ever buy from you and has told you they're never going to buy from you. That's where they kind of said that we're different from the other companies. Are like, if you tell them no, they're kind of like, okay, well, we're done, unfriend. And like, we are not called to be like that. So I mean, mine is super short, but that was my biggest takeaway, was just that like, we are in network marketing. We are building a network. We're in the business of people and serving them and putting them before ourselves, and not looking at them as a big dollar sign on their forehead, or, you know, how could I sell to them today? How could I enrich their lives today? So.
Good job, Blakely. And I feel like, to kind of go along with what you're just saying, I feel like you guys know social networking, all the other MLMs, you guys have had people slide into your DMs and you can tell when someone is just trying to make a sale off of you. And that's why we stress to you guys so much how important it is to be genuine. And we give you guys the messages that you can use and tweak and make it sound like you and make it your own so that you do sound genuine. And everybody on our team, I know, like, genuinely believes that the products can help people and the business can help people. So it's just letting other people see that, and why we also say, one of the other speakers, and I'm kind of going into my spill too really quick, we have 2 minutes. One of the speakers was talking about how important it is to show your face on your stories. We don't like posting us talking. Most of us don't like the way that our voices sound when we go back and listen to it. She's like, you've got to get over that. People need to hear you. They want to hear you. They're following you for a reason. They're your friend for a reason. So show them you, show them your face, not all the cool, pretty graphics that we make. Those are nice, but they were like, show you, show your face. So that was definitely something that I took away that I'm trying to work on myself. But just to kind of wrap all this up, I absolutely love, this was my 5th or 6th leaders retreat with Marissa. And we were so excited that we had so many people from our team earn it. Because like she said, we finally figured out that it's not about us. It's about helping y'all reach your goals for your health and your finances for you and your family. And it's so much more fun now going to leaders retreat with our team. And we used to see all of these other teams show up with huge teams, and we were like, oh, that's going to be us one day, but we didn't know how to do it. And now that we were able to do that, it was so much fun. We had an absolute blast. And like Blakely said, she didn't know what to expect going into a leaders retreat. I love how Plexus shows you how to be a leader in your everyday life, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as a spouse, not just how to make a quick buck off of somebody. It's so much more than that. And they really, like, the whole first day, they didn't say much about Plexus at all. It was more how to be a leader personally, but that spills over into your business as well. So I just absolutely loved that. Real quick before we get cut off, convention, it's still only $79 to register. Go register. Even if you're not positive that you're going to be able to go ahead and register, because I promise you're not going to want to miss this. This is going to be amazing.